As part of our recent trip to Norway, we visited Honningsvag, which is at 71 degrees north latitude, which is quite a ways north. In fact, they say it's only 1,200 kilometers from the North Pole. And while we were there, we were able to take a little ATV tour of some of the surrounding areas. So I thought I would bring you along for just a small portion of that 2-hour ATV trip. Of course, this trip starts within walking distance of where our ship was docked for the day. So it was very convenient to join up with this trip. I believe the ship that we're seeing in the foreground right here is actually a Princess Cruise Line ship. Our cruise ship is over to the left and is considerably smaller than the Princess ship. Interestingly, ATVs in Norway are not approved for off-road use like they are in the United States. We always think of an ATV as being an off-road vehicle. In Norway, they are only allowed on roads. So they're a little bit different. They actually have turn signals, which you don't generally find in an ATV in the United States. So of course we had to drive the highway because that's the only road there is from this area to where we were going. It didn't take long though till we were able to turn off the highway onto a gravel road. This road took us up the side of one of the mountains overlooking the port. Here we had to have a few additional instructions to make sure everybody knew to put their ATVs in low gear. Some of the people on the trip had never ridden an ATV before, but these were very similar to the one that I have at home, so it wasn't too unfamiliar for us. This was the highest we could go on this road. From there on up, it's a military road leading to a NATO radar installation, and we were not allowed to go any further up the road than this. But we get an excellent view overlooking the port. Our ship is the one on the right. And we felt like we were on top of the world. Then, of course, it's back down again. Spectacular views. Not much in the way of vegetation, though.
They do
have grass on these islands, and reindeer are brought over during the summer to graze the grasses. Reindeer are actually livestock in Norway, not wild, and they actually bring them either by boat or make them swim to get to these islands and then take them back to the mainland for the winter. next location, we actually went through a rather long tunnel. This is in fact 4 kilometers long, and we'll see more of it before we get through with the trip. We have to ride back through it one more time. They did have a little warming stop for us in some traditional Sami structures. These are like giant teepees and are bigger than the Sami actually lived in, but they're built along the same lines as the Sami structures. And as I say, very similar to a Plains Indian teepee in the U.S. Very nice little environment. We were able to get a cup of coffee. And as part of their tours, they often have a king crab bake or boil, which was not what we were doing. That was for some other groups. But we did get a chance to go look at the king crab that they had caught for the other group to try out. The group in the yellow came by rubber inflatable boat and were touring the bay. There's one of the king crab. This is Marcus, our guide. He actually says that king crab are a pest in these waters. They are not native and they have no known natural predators in these waters, so they're actually kind of a nuisance, and they try to fish them quite heavily just to get rid of them. And it's back on the ATVs and back down the road. We'll actually be headed back to the ship at this point. This has been about an hour and a half into the trip. And here we are approaching the 4 kilometer long tunnel again. This time I'm going to go ahead and show the entire length, but we're going to speed it up so you don't have to watch it for 4 or 5 minutes. Interestingly, on one of the other islands, we actually went through a tunnel that had multiple intersections inside the tunnel. So there's quite a bit of traffic that travels underground on some of these islands. This is a large fish drying rack where they dry cod. They don't do anything special to it other than clean it and hang it out to dry during the winter months, and it dries quite nicely for long-term storage. But then unfortunately the trip was over. We're back to the docks now and gonna have to turn in the ATV and give back our nice windsuits that they loaned us for the trip. But overall it was really a good little ATV trip. I do hope you enjoyed watching along with that. It was just a little taste of it. Like I say, that was a 2-hour trip. Got it all condensed down to about 10 minutes there. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, I'd love it if you hit that subscribe button. Hopefully I'm going to have a little bit more of this trip before it's all over. As of today, while I'm editing all of this, we are actually at sea in the North Sea sailing towards Scotland. So perhaps the next video will have a little bit of Scotland in it. See you then.